Hey everyone, welcome to and welcome back to my YouTube channel, and I hope you guys are doing great. And starting today, we will be diving into Azure Labs from Pwned Labs, and this series will focus on Azure hacking, and we will not only tackle these labs but also explore various tools and concepts for pen testing in the Azure environment. So feel free to share any suggestions or advice you might have for this series. And in this video, we will be working on the Azure Blob Container to Initial Access Lab. This lab is free and beginner friendly, and it is also included in the Pwned Labs Bootcamp. Honestly, the Pwned Labs Bootcamp has been fantastic. I'm learning a lot, and the community is incredibly supportive. So if you are interested in learning more about the bootcamp, I will include a link in the description box. So it will be really easy for you to access the information of this bootcamp. All right, let me start the machine. Okay, this lab is off. Let me turn it on. Okay, so this lab is related to Azure Blob storage. And if you are new to Azure and you are not familiar with this service, that's okay. Don't worry. I will explain everything in detail. So first, let's talk about what Azure Blob Storage is. Okay, so I have created a small presentation for you. Okay, so basically Azure Blob Storage is a cloud service provided by Microsoft Azure that allows you to store and manage large amount of unstructured data such as your text file and binary files. Blob Storage offers three types of resources. The first one is the storage account. Okay, the second one is container, like a container in the storage account, and the third resource is a blob, like a blob in a container. So let me explain it with the help of this example. The first, we have storage account, then we have container and blob. As I've said earlier, okay, these three are the important resources that is included in the blob storage. Okay, so the storage account basically like a virtual storage drive in the cloud where you can keep all your data. It is the top level container that holds everything related to your storage need. For example, in this case, the storage account is named as Pwned Labs. Okay, and this is like the name of a company or organization that owns the cloud storage. Okay, then we have a container, and container is a way to organize your data within a storage account. Basically, it's like a folder or directory where you group similar files together. Okay, for example, inside this Own Lab storage account, you can have three containers or multiple containers. Obviously, it is just an example I'm giving you. So the first container is Bootcamp videos, and this container holds video files, as the name suggests, right? Obviously. And the second container is Bootcamp docs, and this container holds documents that is related to Bootcamp. Obviously, in every bootcamp you will get a lots of documentation, so this particular container is for storing those documents. Okay, the third container is backup, and this container holds a backup file. Okay, now let's talk about blob. And a blob is the actual file or data that is stored in a container. Okay, it can be any type of unstructured data such as your text, images, videos, or backup. In this example, within each container, you have specific blobs. Like in the bootcamp video container, you will have all your sessions, videos. Then in the bootcamp docs container, you will have all your documents related to that bootcamp. And obviously backup is important. So you will also store backup as a blob. Okay. So these are the three important resources that you need to know about Azure Blob Storage. And if you have used AWS before, you might be thinking this sounds a lot like S3 or simple storage service. And you guys are right, because Azure Blob Storage is very similar to Amazon S3. Like both are cloud storage services that let you store and manage unstructured data in the secure and scalable way. And they also offer a lot of same benefits like data redundancy and access controls. but each has its own sets of features, integration, and pricing, depending on whether you are in the Azure or AWS ecosystem. So now I hope you clearly understand what is Azure Blob Storage, and it is time to see our lab scenario. So we have got this website as an entry point, like dev.megabigtech.com. And let's see our scenario first, that Megabig Tech have adopted a hybrid cloud architecture and continues to use a local on-premise Active Directory domain as well as the Azure cloud. They are wary of being targeted due to their importance in the tech world and have asked your team to assess the security of their infrastructure, including cloud services. An interesting URL has been found in some public documentation, and you are tasked with assessing it. Here we have the lab prerequisite that basic Windows command line knowledge is required. And here we have the learning outcomes that you will get the familiarity with the Azure CLI, like how to perform enumeration in the Azure Blob Container. And you will also learn how to leverage Blob previous version functionality to reveal secrets. This is my favorite part, by the way. And then you'll also understand how this attack chain could have been prevented. Like we'll see the mitigation steps as well. Difficulty is beginner and focus is on red team. And here we have the real world context, that is, there have been numerous examples over the years of data breaches resulting from misconfigured public Azure Blob storage, the Azure equivalent of an S3 bucket, as I've mentioned earlier. While Azure offers robust security features, the responsibility to secure data in the cloud rests with the account holder. Obviously, it's our responsibility to secure our organization's data. So let's just copy the website link and let's paste it here and let's hit enter. Okay, continue to site. Megabig Tech, obviously it's a website name, like the domain name, and Dave is, I think, the subdomain of this website. It's a development environment for this website. Okay, sign in functionality is not working. Okay, these are not navigation bar. It is not configured. Create a free account. Okay, this is not the working button. So let's see the source code of this website. So let's right click on this website and click on view page source. So we have got this interesting URL here, that is mbtwebsite.blub.core.windows.net. We'll explain this URL in a minute, but it is an interesting URL we have found. So let me just click on this. So it's a CSS file, right? Okay, let me just remove the CSS file and we'll write index.html. Okay, the same file we are accessing here. Okay, let's hit enter. Okay, it's the same website, right? Based on this particular link, we can say that this website is hosted on Azure Blob. Like why I'm saying this is because of this $web container. Okay, and this particular container is a predefined container used specifically for serving static website content. Like when you use Azure Blob Storage for hosting a static website, this container actually plays a crucial role. And this is the container where we store the files for a static website, such as HTML file, CSS, JavaScript file, and images. We can surely say that this particular website is hosted on Azure Blob, but we can also verify this by using PowerShell command. But before that, just a quick heads up, like for solving this lab, you need to install PowerShell and Azure CLI. And I'll put the documentation link in the description box so it will be easy for you to install these tools as per your operating system. I'm currently using Kali Linux and I have already installed both PowerShell and Azure CLI on my Kali machine. So let me open my Kali machine. Okay, let's open the terminal. So I'm on Kali Linux and I have to open the PowerShell. Okay, and it's simple in Kali Linux. You just have to write pwsh. Okay, and let's hit enter. And it will open the PowerShell command prompt in my terminal. So now we have to verify that this particular website is hosted on Azure Blob or not. And for that, we'll use invoke web request cmd let with URI parameter. And let's copy our URL. Let me paste our URL here. So this invoke web request cmd let is similar to our curl command in Linux, but it is tailored for PowerShell. And both the commands, this invoke web request and curl are used to make web request, but this particular cmd let offers PowerShell specific features and integration. And the purpose of this command is to retrieve only the header of the specific resource. So now we have to provide the method URL because we are interested only in the header of the resource, not the body. Okay, so I'm gonna write head. Okay, this will be our parameter. And let me clear the screen and now let's hit enter. Okay, the status code is 200. And here we have the server, that is Windows Azure Blob 1.0. Server is Microsoft. This is XMS request ID, and this is important. Okay, this is XMS version. It's a version that is 2009. And we can surely say that this particular website is indeed hosted on Blob. So now let's expand the header properties by using the following command. We'll use the same command. Okay, let me clear the screen. But now we are going to pipe this command and we'll write select object, and I'm interested in expand property header. You know what, this parameters will extract and display only the headers from this response. Okay, so let me hit enter and we'll get the same result like the server information, version information, ms lease status is unlocked, and here we have the blob type, that is block blob, and here we can see the last modified date. Okay, cool. Now let's break down this URL. Okay, it's very important to understand the URL if you are new in Azure hacking. So this is our URL that we have found in the source code. So the first component of this website is simple, like the HTTPS, it's a protocol. And Azure Blob service supports both HTTP and HTTPS protocol. Then we have the MBT, that is Megabig Tech website. It is likely the name of the Azure storage account because, as we have seen earlier, in Azure Blob Storage, each storage account has a unique name. So here we have MBT website. Then we have the blob.core.windows.net, and it is the base domain for Azure Blob Storage. Make sure that you remember it's a base domain of Azure Blob Storage, and it signifies that the URL is accessing a resource stored in the Azure's Blob Storage service. Okay. Then we have a web container. So web container is a predefined container, or we can say a reserved container used by Azure to serve static website content. Okay, if a storage account is configured for static website hosting, the web container is where the static files like HTML, CSS, and JavaScripts are stored, as we have mentioned earlier. Then last we have our index.html file, and it is typically the main entry point of the website, and it is the default file that browsers will request when accessing the root of the website. Okay, so now we know that this particular web container is reserved or predefined container in Azure Blob. So let's try to list the content of this container. Okay, and we are going to use the URI parameter. Okay, now let's write Azure list blob URI parameter, and let's click on the first link. Okay, you will get this page that list blobs. So we have this, the list blobs operation return a list of the blobs under the specified container. Okay, and we are going to use this parameter, that is rest type is equal to container and component is equal to list. Okay, let me copy it and I'm going to paste it here. Let's remove the index.html. We are using this comp is equal to list, that is short for component is equal to list, and it is used to list the blobs within a container. Okay, it tells Azure Blob Storage that the request is for retrieving a list of blobs from the specified container, and in this case we are interested in this web container. Okay, the reserved container. Now let's hit enter. So this is how you can list all the components inside the container, and we have got index.html file. This is the CSS file. Then we have js.download, all the files, right? And the blob type is blob. Great. Now, now we can add ampersand delimiter is equal to %2f. Okay, so basically this delimiter parameter is used to control how the results are grouped by specifying a delimiter character, and we know that %2f is the URL encoded form of the /. So we are interested in like listing a directories, and we just got one directory, that is static directory. Okay, and we know this static directory was present. We just have a static directory, and it's a good idea to review previous versioning of this blob. Okay, and for that we will use like this particular URI, sorry, parameter, not URI. It is versions. Okay, like include is equal to versions, and here you can see the description version 2019 and later specify that version of blob should be included in the enumeration. Okay, you can read this theory part. So what I will do, instead of this delimiter, let me remove this delimiter and let's write include is equal to versions. Okay, and now let's hit enter. Invalid query parameter value. Okay, so now what we can do, we can specify this version of this operation by setting the XMS version header with curl. Okay, as we have seen here that version 2019 and later specifies the version of the blob. So we have to manually set the version. Okay, and then we will check like whether versioning is enabled or not. So what I will do, let me just copy this URL and we'll use curl command. Let me exit from PowerShell, and here we are just using curl command and we are specifying the header, that is XMS version, that is 2019, and we are providing our URL. Okay, the same URL that we have copied from here. Now let's hit enter. Okay, so this returns a lot of data. So we have to format this XML data. And for installing this XML formatting tool, you just have to write apt install libxml2 utils. It is the package. Okay, it's basically a package that provides a sets of command line utilities for working with XML files. Okay, so I already, okay, you just have to write sudo. I already have this particular package present in my Pali Linux. So I'm just gonna use it. Format will also pipe it. Okay, so this will be our command. We are just using the XML lint to format our output. Okay. Okay, let me just hit enter. Okay. So here we have the name and the version ID. It's 2023 and its current version, it's true. Now let's hit enter. And here we have the scripts transfer.zip file. And this is the version ID, that is 2024. Creation date 29 March. Last modified date 29 March. So let's first copy this version ID because we are going to download the zip file. So let me copy it and let's paste it here. And let me also copy the script name, like script transfer.zip. Cool. So let's write Q to quit. Now we have to download that particular file with the help of curl command. And instead of this URI parameters, now we are interested in the script file. Version ID, we are providing the version ID here, and we just want this output. Okay, that is script transfer.zip. Now let's hit enter. Let's write ls, and we have got this script transfer.zip file. Okay, let me just quickly move this file from here. First Blob Lab. Okay, let's go to okay, so we have moved our scripts transfer.zip file. Okay, so now let's unzip this file and let's write ls, and we have got this intra users ps1 file and stale computer accounts.ps1 file. Okay, both are the PowerShell script. So let me clear the screen and let's cat this stale computer file. Let's hit enter. Okay, define the target domain and organizational unit. Domain name is megabit tech. Set the threshold for stale computer account. Disable and move stale computer accounts to the review OU. So this script helps manage stale computer accounts in Active Directory by disabling them and organizing them into a designated OU for further review. And in this case, they are moving this stale computer account to this review organizational unit. Okay. And they have used these hard-coded credentials to perform these actions, which should ideally be managed securely in a real-world scenario, right? So let me copy this username and password. So Mark is basically an admin. Okay. Now let's see the next file, that is intra user. Okay. So we have this AZ module which provides CMDlets for managing Azure resources. Then we have this Microsoft Authentication Library module. It's a PowerShell module which is used for authentication with Azure AD. Okay. And here they have defined the Azure AD credentials. Cool. Username is Marcus at Megabit Tech, and here we got the password. That's great. So they have defined the Microsoft Graph API endpoint to retrieve this user information and last sign-in time using Microsoft Graph via PowerShell. And the output will be in a JSON format. Okay. And they are retrieving the display name and user principal name specifically. So now we can say that the script is used to authenticate with Azure AD with these Mercus credentials. Okay. And we are query user information from Microsoft Graph API and we are getting the output in the JSON format. So now we have to run the script, right? And before that, we have to install these modules, okay? And for that, I'm going to use the following command. Let's write the pwsh, and now we have to write install module name az. Okay, let's hit enter. I have already installed this module, so I'm gonna cancel this operation. And we also have to install MSAL, that is Microsoft Authentication Library. Okay, now let's exit from here and let's write chmod plus x, like give the execute permission to this intra users file. Okay, now just clear the screen and let's go to PowerShell, and now let's run the script, that is intra users.ps1. Hit enter. Okay, okay, so basically we have list all the users, like the display name with their ID, with their user principal name. Now we have this ability to enumerate all users. Mission accomplished, right? Let's run whoami command, and in Azure we have this command, that is get azad user signed in. Let me just clear the screen first. And this get azad user command is used to retrieve information about the users in the Azure Active Directory. Okay, so let's see who are currently signed in. And I'm also going to use FL, that is format list. Now let's hit enter. Okay, so we are this Marcus user, and here we have got our flag. Okay, so let's copy our flag, ID number, display name, Marcus Hutch. Now let's go to our lab and let's paste our flag here and let's submit it. Congrats, you have successfully completed the challenge. Cool. So let's review the attack flow of this lab, like how we have gained initial access of this Azure Blob container. By the way, I'm not expert at creating these diagrams, so just bear with me, okay? It will just help us to recap what we did in this lab. First, we have used megabigtech.com website as our entry point. After looking at the website source code, we found an interesting blob link, like URL. We then enumerate this blob container. Okay, we then listed the content of the web container and directories. And during this enumeration process, we noticed that versioning was enabled on this blob container. And we found a previous version of a file called scripts transfer zip. We downloaded this file using the curl command and extracted it and found two PowerShell scripts, that is intrausers.ps1 and stalecomputers account.ps1 file. So the stale computer accounts.ps1 file help us disable and move stale computer accounts to the review organizational unit. And this script also contained the credential for the Active Directory admin account, that is Marcus admin, that is ADM, as we have seen in the script. And intra-user script audits all the intra-AD users and also had hard-coded credentials. And we have installed the necessary modules and ran the intra-user script and authenticate with the Microsoft Azure AD. And we have successfully got our flag and also the initial foothold in this lab. Okay, so this is how we have gained initial access to the Azure Blob container of Megabig Tech company. Okay, now let's see the security risk and mitigation steps. Okay, so the first problem is the entire Blob container was accessible to the public and posing a significant security risk. And because of this setting, the previous version of the Blob files were exposed and it allowed the unauthorized access. Right? We have, downloaded the zip file, right? And the access level for this container is set to anonymous read access for containers and blobs, which enables anyone to view its content, right? So we have this problem, that is the entire blob container was accessible to the public and the risk was the previous version of the blob files were exposed, right? So to resolve this, the access level of the blob container must be changed to private, and additionally the previous version of the blob should be deleted to prevent further exposure. Okay, and you can use this particular command, that is remove az storage blob container name, the web container, blob script transfer.zip file, and we have to provide the version id that we have copied it earlier. Okay, so these are the action required. First, we have to change the access level to private. Second, delete the exposed previous version. Okay, so the second problem is related to hard-coded credentials. Like in this case, the issue is the use of hard-coded credentials directly within scripts, right? And this practice can lead to serious security vulnerabilities. Like when credentials are hard-coded, they are easily accessible within the code and making it possible for unauthorized individuals to retrieve them if the code is exposed or compromised. If we talk about the risk, we all know that attacker can easily extract these credentials, which may lead to security breaches, data loss, or other malicious activities. So this practice is not cool or insecure and make your systems more vulnerable to attack. You can use some secure alternatives like Azure Key Vault, Password Manager, or Privilege Access Management to securely handle your credential. Okay, and by implementing these strategies, you can reduce the risk of exposing sensitive credentials and enhance the overall security of your environment. So these are the two security issues we have seen in this lab. And yeah, that's it for this video, guys. I hope you like it. And if you did, then please share this video with your friends and your colleagues. And make sure that you guys are subscribing to my YouTube channel. And we'll see you in my next video. Till then, take care and keep learning. Bye bye.